New school year, final school year, fingers crossed, new apartment, new decor, same shenanigans. As a ode to my hard work and just kind of a last hurrah, I really wanted to recreate the original Heartstopper dress. It was awful in hindsight. I tried really hard, I did my best, I made a good dress, but I wanted to recreate that project and kind of that video because I've changed a lot since then. I've gotten better as a seamstress, I've gotten better as a YouTuber and just a general creator. Most importantly, I have an actual microphone now so that my voiceovers don't sound like Beetlejuice and Gollum had a baby in a 1930s radio studio. I made the original Heartstopper dress in celebration of season 2 coming out, and so I thought, what better time to recreate it than to celebrate season 3 coming out next month? Plus, I figured it was time for some improvements. I've gone ahead and bought my fabric, I've started a plan, and to finish my plan, I'm going to need to analyze the old dress, see exactly what I would like to change, and put that into action. So let's go and do that. Here she is in all her aged glory. Feeling a little nostalgic, I'm not gonna lie. But a lot has changed, namely my bar for how good I want things to be, and this no longer meets it. She's great, I love her, I did good, but I can do better. The first few things that we need to discuss are just the general fit and pattern and construction of the dress. I had used a pattern that I just had that is a vague mid-18th century, not 18th, vague mid-19th century pattern that I made up in high school and definitely doesn't fit me anymore and definitely isn't well made in any way. So I plan to re-drape and draft an entirely new bodice pattern for this dress. And along with the new pattern, I want to make sure that I accommodate for better bindings along seams, better closures as well, because for this one, I didn't have any hooks and eyes, and I didn't have a car to go to the store to get hooks and eyes, and I didn't want to spend money. So instead, I flipped a button-up shirt that I had backwards and then used those buttons to close the dress. It was a different time. It was just after COVID, and I was spending all my money on textbooks because no one had told me yet that you shouldn't buy your textbooks until at least a week into school, because otherwise you're gonna get ripped off. I was young and dumb. But now, I have a bunch of hooks and eyes, and I have the knowledge to accommodate for that. Also on the bodice, a new collar. I like the ruffle we have going on. My new collar will also have a ruffle, and I like the flower details. My new collar will also have flower and leaf details. However, I think that I want to just try something different, just try something new. I think that this ruffle is really cute, but it reads as kind of juvenile, and I want this to have a little more of a sophisticated construction because all of the drawing makes it a little less sophisticated, and so I think I need a better balance between the two. So I'm gonna try and go for this bib collar thing that I saw that just creates a really clean line across the chest and shoulders. So far as the skirt goes, it actually went pretty wrong when I made this dress. I hadn't gotten enough fabric for all the tiers and ruffles that I wanted. Originally, this dress design had 3 tiers and a fairly rotund skirt. I didn't have hoops at the time though, and I only had a few petticoats that I had to make do with. So I just went with what I had, and then I added extra fluff by putting green tulle underneath it. So in some lights, this dress has a green glow from beneath the fabric. But on this new one, I have actually purchased enough fabric this time to do 3 full tiers of the ruffles, and I now own a hoop skirt that I made for my Met Gala project and will be using to support a much larger shape. As far as the drawings, the leaves, and the flowers go, I definitely am going to prioritize a very strict color palette. I was just using whatever paints I had to get this right. So I think that I will definitely be doing a bunch more tests for color to make sure that I get the right colors for this and that I don't just have to go with whatever I put on there. Some of the colors I use for this are really nice, but also I feel like pastels would have read better, and these are a little dark. So I definitely want to work the colors a little more. I'm going to stick to paint pens as much as possible rather than painting with a brush when it comes to the black line work, because the line work last time came out a little scratchy in certain points, and I just want to make sure it's as clean as possible. Because while it is a drawn and painted dress, Alice Oseman's original art is all done digitally, so it definitely has a flavor of like that mechanical perfection to it, along with the physical imperfection of something made by a human, and those blend together. The original plan when I designed this dress was to make a two-dimensional-esque dress, and then it just evolved from there into this ball gown project. And I've definitely left the two-dimensional aspect behind more and more as I've gone forward with this project. And so I think I'm going to take it a step further, and over top of some of my painting and drawing on this dress, I would love to try adding some embroidery onto this next one to create some texture and a little bit of color variation, and just give it that extra level of care and detail that can be applied to the dress. That is everything that I want to redesign and correct on this dress. And now that I have my new design and we have finished going over this old gal, I'm gonna pop her off the mannequin and start draping our new bodice pattern, then take it from there to paper and then draft out any errors that I need to.
I'm starting the bodice pattern by draping directly onto Hildy and drawing out and cutting the shapes. If you didn't know, Hildy's my mannequin. I'm keeping in mind throughout this process that this will be a net pattern, or a pattern without seam allowance added. Once I take the draping off Hildy, I can then trace it onto paper, cleaning up my lines and curves as I go. I have definitely learned my lessons on not truing up my pattern lines. Then those paper pattern pieces get cut out and we are ready to start making the bodice. Try saying that 5 times fast. Paper pattern pieces, paper pattern pieces, paper pattern pieces. After cutting and stitching the bodice and lining pieces, I can give my seam allowances a quick press and press the hem edges inward. I can confirm I did give myself copious amounts of steam burns during this because I simply refused to turn my iron down and work slower. Impatience does not pay. Then I'm cutting some boning channels to match the seam lines and inserting boning. These boning channels are then cross-stitched into the bodice along each seam. Fun fact, the cross-stitch may have originated for the purpose of inserting boning. Then the lining gets pinned over top and stitched into place. Finally, some hooks and bars are put on for closures. Normally, I would skimp on the closures just to be budget friendly, but I'd like the back of this dress to close very nicely, so I am putting one every 3/4 of an inch down the back of the dress. And now, time for a quick try on.
So we have this, I just have it pinned at the shoulders for now. I'll tack those into place after this, but I wanted to be able to try on the bodice. I've got my hoop skirt and a petticoat on just to see how the shape looks, and I am quite happy with it all around. These off the shoulder do droop a little bit, so what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some wire and I'm just going to insert it along this top hemline, just to give it a little bit of structure in the transition from here to here, because this is all stiff and boned and then this is very floppy. Another thing is I patterned this on my mannequin. My mannequin has a shorter torso than I do, so there's like an inch or so of separation from where the bodice should end and where the skirts should begin. And so to fix that, I can either like graft in a little piece, but also the back has the same issue. And in one of the designs that I had been brainstorming, I had a ruffle coming out of here and into the back to transition into the skirt and have kind of like a little ducktail thing going on. And so I think I will just add that back in to cover up that mistake rather than trying to put a little extension on or repatterning this entire bodice, because I am on a schedule here. I feel pretty darn fabulous right now. I am so excited. This already fits so much nicer than the old dress, and I think it's gonna be great. So I'm going to add wire, add a ruffle, and then also go ahead and pop on my bib collar that I was looking to do. And I'm just gonna pattern that out and stitch it together. It's nothing complicated, and it's just gonna get hand tacked onto here, and then a little ruffle on the bottom of that as well. So time to get ruffling, and then skirt time. All right. Actually gotta get out of all this and go to work. Okay, onward.
Cut 2 diagonals and ironed some pleats into them before attaching them to the bodice. This worked surprisingly well considering I was improvising the entire time. This is why I can't be a sewing instructor, because I can't say, oh, you have to measure all the time, because sometimes you don't measure, and sometimes it works out. Heading over to my mannequin Hildy, I drape a quick pattern for my collar and get it and a lining cut out. After pressing my hems inward, I decided to decompress with some hammock sewing time. I then promptly fell asleep halfway through stitching. To my collar pieces using a box pleat because it's the easiest math. 3 times the length of your desired ruffle, all pleated down nicely, then stitched into place. Some nice and easy math, especially for those of us whom doing math is kind of like pulling teeth. I should know I've had 6 teeth forcibly removed from my mouth in my time, and none of them were fun. I'm then oh so gracefully measuring the circumference of the skirt tiers.
130.
She's beauty, she's grace, she's Miss United States. Each tier will be 20 inches wide and 3 times the length of its circumference, so it can be box pleated down just like the ruffle on the collar.
I have once again completely screwed myself over with my deadline. But hey, gonna have to make it work. So today's goal is finish everything that needs to be finished before I can prep for painting and drawing on it and embroidering on it. Tonight's like big task is gonna be ironing all of this so that I can have it Once I've ironed and hemmed this though, I can then cut it to length for the tiers on the skirt, and we will be ready for painting stuff. You can do this, 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 you can do this. Onward.
Is that the plot of the movie Ghost? Is Patrick Swayze a ghost? The only thing I know about that movie is that they do like sexy pottery. You know what I mean? They do sexy pottery.
No, I'm unaware.
Like she's doing like pottery on a wheel, and then he comes up behind her and is like, "Oh my gosh, let me show you."
Oh, I thought you were they were making like sexy sculptures.
No. The pottery, the pot isn't sexy. The pottery is sexy.
Okay, that makes more sense.
So he's a ghost in that movie. I have successfully hemmed all of these layers, and it is now 2:15 a.m. I'm not a night person or a morning person or like a anytime person. But I gotta say that the motivation of I can't sleep till this is done really worked, and I got this done amazingly fast. So I'm going to go crash. Tomorrow afternoon, I want to start painting. But for now, sleep.
This was a mistake. Today I'm going to start drawing on the dress pieces. So I have some cardstock paper here that I've started putting a grid on just so that everything's even across all the tiers of the dress. And I'm going to create a stencil for all the basic pieces, so all the ovals for the frames, and then just the placement of different aspects of it. I'm going to create a stencil so that I can work within bounds. And then once my stencil's done, I'm going to transfer that onto the dress pieces in pencil and then start on color. This is making me wonder, how many Heartstopper leaves do you think that Alice Oseman has drawn in their life? It's gotta be millions, right? Cause like, they're in all the comics. And also, like, I don't know, you know? I wonder what that number is, cause it would be crazy to think about how many. Cause also there's the ones that like don't make it into the comics. Cause how many leaves are just in the comics? How many leaves are just in the show? And then how many leaves overall in their life do you think Alice Oseman has drawn for Heartstopper? You know? Because I'm not gonna lie, this is already too many. Already too many for me. Maybe it's just because I'm exactoing them and my arthritic little fingies are hurting. But this is already too many. All my leaves, umbrellas, and ovals have been placed with the stencil that I made. I did some calculations and I just drew out where I want each face to go along the pattern for each tier so that I have different faces facing the front of the dress. How many times can you use the word facing in one sentence? Different faces facing different faces of the dress. This is why I'm not an English major. I almost completely forgot that I also have to do the tracing onto my collar piece because there is some leaves that are going on there. So I'm gonna go ahead and draw some leaves onto the collar piece and then trace the faces on just through my computer screen.
Once all the initial tracings have been completed, we can then move on to painting and coloring. Pardon any echo that takes place. I'm having to film this in my bathroom because I lost the sunlight and my lighting kit is in a duffel bag somewhere. And this is the only room with decent lighting that I have. So I'm taking my watercolor sets and I'm going to I also have some like inks and things, and I'm going to pre-mix and test all of my colors. I've already done the yellow, so I have these swatches and things that I'm going to be using, and then I'm just going to make containers of my colors so that I can have all my tests done, line them up all next to each other, make sure all my colors are working with each other the way I like, and then get started painting in the morning. While I was painting, some of the colors did bleed more than others, as all of my measurements in the ratios of water to ink and paint were not exact, and so next time I plan on painting something onto a dress, I'll definitely have to keep in mind how much water content I'm using. Once all of the paint has been applied and has been given time to dry overnight, I can then begin taking paint pens and Sharpies and outlining everything that needs to be outlined in black, frames, characters, and leaves. Little update on just why this video was quite so late and why I look like this. A lot has happened in the past week. I went to a funeral and my nieces were there, and I had to take the week off school because the little gremlins gave me possibly the worst cold I've ever had in my life. That is the reason my voice is dead. And then I got bangs, and if getting bangs isn't a signifier that your life is careening out of your thinly grasped control, then I don't know what is. So I put the Heartstopper dress to the side for a bit, and I'm feeling much more on track now, and I'm ready to keep going, and I think I can still get it out before the premiere. Maybe not before the end of September, but definitely before the premiere. Anyway, I just wanted to do a little reminder, drink some water, sit down and breathe deeply for a few minutes, and take care of yourself, because it's important to not run yourself into the ground to the point of absolutely losing your mind. Hey, I'm on theme, because season 3 is going to deal with a lot of mental health stuff, apparently. Which, if the novels were crushing enough, I don't know how absolutely gut-wrenching it's going to be to see on screen. But you know what? Have an awareness for the people around you. It is September. It's Don't Unalive Yourself month. I don't know what YouTube will allow me to say. So this is my personalized message. Please take care of yourself. Please reach out to those who love you. And definitely don't go get bangs when life gets tough. Otherwise, I am back at it. I am ready to finish this dress, all its last little touches, and finally get to wear the completed outfit. So let's get on that. Once all the outlining has been completed, I can then begin the embroidery process. I'm embroidering along all the leaves with diagonal lines, as well as through the back of the portraits and through the umbrellas. Now that all our pieces have been embroidered, I can then take my collar piece and I can attach it with hand stitching onto the bodice. As for the skirt tiers, they will be box pleated and hand stitched onto an existing tier system on the dress form. And now that our skirt pieces have been pleated and stitched into place, it's time for the reveal. Another project down. I couldn't be more pleased with how this came out. I am simply just beaming thinking about it. I had thought there would be so many things to complain about at the end of this with how the dress came out, and then I stood next to the old one wearing the new one, and it was unreal. It was unreal. And so really my only complaint after everything is that I wish I had paid more attention when I was drafting my bodice, because it was too short for my torso. I have a longer torso than my mannequin, and so if I had just really triple checked my measurements, I probably would have caught that earlier on, but I didn't. Otherwise, I love everything about this dress! I am so excited about how it came out. I cannot wait for everyone to see this video, and I am so happy with all the pictures that I got. I think it's going to be so great, and I really have no notes. I think it's so good. I am very happy that it came out as well as it did, considering that, like, there were so many stops and starts and stalls in this project. I did not think I was going to get it done, but I did, and I'm very happy with that. And so I do think for next month's video, I'm going to keep it chill. I'm going to do, not like a major ball gown project or anything. Something that I'm going to have fun doing and won't be a major source of stress the closer I get to my deadline. If you would like to find me on other platforms, I'm on Instagram and TikTok as @ArtByLGO. You can find me at artbylgo.com for some of my more professional work. If you'd like to support the channel, consider becoming a member or subscribing to my Patreon. I am at @ArtByLGO over there as well. On that note, thank you so much to my patrons. The donations from them really do help so much when it comes to getting materials, because it just takes so much stress off of me. So thank you guys very much. And thank you to you for watching my video. I hope you liked it. If you would like to see some more sewing shenanigan type things, then be sure to check out other videos on my channel. And other than that, I would like to see you here again sometimes. I'm looking to get a video out every month. So bye and have a good one. Why can't I talk? Blah, that's bad. That's bad. And now that our skirt pieces has a hit, and now that sexy. And now the weather. Pieces have been finally pleated and pleated.